This is part 3 for the oak and glass recurve bow video. It's the final part. I'm just going to show how to make it actually a different bow. This is what I'm going to show you how to make. It's more of a like an East Asian style bow. It's a little bit easier to make actually. The way I made it, it wound up being lower performance than the other bow, but with some small changes I think it could be a really good bow. This was my first try at making one like this, so next try I think will be a lot better performing using basically exactly the same thing that I'm going to show you in the video. Same techniques. I think it looks good and it works fine, it's just got a low draw weight, relatively low. So I'm starting with the same type of wood that I used for that other bow. It's 1.5 wide by 1/4 inch thick by I think it was 38 inches. I'll show you in just a second. 38 inches long. I'll hold the ruler up to it. You can see I've already cut it out. I'm not going to go into full detail showing every little cut and every thing that I sand in this one. I'm just going to say make a piece of wood like this. I'm going to try to make this a quick one. So yeah, 38 inches by 1.5 inches by 1/4 inch thick. It's also shown in millimeters there on the screen. And this taper at the end goes from 1 inch wide down to a 1/2 inch wide over a 3 inch length. This is where we're going to mount the Sia. And these are the Sias. I've already cut them out. They're also made from oak. The full length from tip to tip is about 13 inches. And the length that's actually sticking out past the end of the bow is about 10.5, which is longer. It's a 1/2 inch thick by 1/2 inch wide at the tip. And the whole thing is a 1/2 inch thick. One thing that I'll change on the next one of these that I make, if I make another one, which I probably will, is just to make the Sia a few inches shorter. These are pretty long. And that flat part at the bottom is 3 inches long to match the part on the bow where it's going to glue on. So I just mixed up some epoxy. I have a clamp ready. It was difficult to clamp it on because of the angle that it's of the surface of it, but it works. So on the 3 inch flat part there, I'm just putting some epoxy, and then I'll stick it onto the bow, onto the main piece of wood. The angle there, I didn't actually check. It looks like it's somewhere between 30 and 45 degrees. I just did something that looked about right. It probably could be a slightly steeper angle, but it's not really crucial. So I've got both of those glued on there. You have to make sure that they're completely straight. You don't want them to be off really more than just a tiny bit. But it's pretty easy to tell just by sighting down it whether it's going to be straight or not. So again, this is the same type of glass cloth that I had for the other bow, 8.6 ounce per yard, 85% unidirectional. I've got a cup full of epoxy that I mixed up. It's the same marine epoxy, boat epoxy. Drizzle some on and spread it out, get an even coating. Doesn't need to be very thick, but you definitely want to have some on there. It's got to be enough to soak into the glass. Again, just lay on the glass, pat it down, make sure it's completely touching. Around this, it's a little bit hard to keep it from lifting up, so I'm just putting some more glue over it first, like before I put glue over the whole rest of the thing for the next layer, and that helped stick it down a little bit. So it's 2 layers of fiberglass like that, and then a layer of epoxy over the top to smooth it out. You can see this is what we've got so far. Seems to make a good spring. And now it's time for the handle section. I've got a block of 2x4 here that I just cut into these pieces. I used a bandsaw, but of course you can use whatever saw. And I've left a curve there because you can see the curve. I'm gonna use this to add deflex to the handle, which means the limbs will be bent back a little bit, just to reduce the tension on it, because one of my main goals with this was just to make sure that it was a functional bow that wasn't gonna break, because I hadn't made one in this style before. But if I do this again, I won't add the deflex. I'll either keep it straight, or I might even add some reflex, which would be bending it forward to add more tension. But you can see that when you put these curved pieces on there, if you clamp them, then you can force it to take a certain shape in the handle. This is how you would add reflex or deflex. I would add reflex if I do it again, probably. So I just glued it on with epoxy on the fiberglass side and white glue on the other side. Epoxy is stronger, but white glue is cheaper, so I decided just to use white glue on the wood-to-wood contact, so it will work. You can see how it has accepted the deflex there. It didn't pop the handle off or anything. You might want to leave it clamped for at least a day, just to make sure that it's fully dried and it's not going to just pop the handle off when you take the clamp off. So I've got some twine, or just like cheap wood type string. I'm going to wrap it around the place where the Cias mount and at the handle. As you can see, I cut the handle in at the sides to make it tapered in towards the center. Just to make this will make it a lot easier to shoot and easier to hold also. If you don't do that, it will probably be harder to get the arrow to come off of it very well. So I've just glued the end of the string on, and now I'm wrapping around. I'm going to put white glue ahead of where I'm wrapping the string the whole way down the handle. I'll just put it up, maybe an inch at a time, and wrap the string over it. More glue, wrap the string, more glue, wrap the string. The whole way down the handle, and also on where the Cias mount to the limb. These are something called string bridges. They're going to go at the base of the Cia. They're just like a curved thing that the string rides in, and there's this slot at the bottom that's going to fit onto the Cia. That's sanded round and cup shaped to hold the string right in the center of it. This is so the string doesn't just slip off to the side of that narrow Cia if it's, bouncing around as you shoot it. See how that goes on there. The exact dimensions really are not important. Even the exact shape really is not important at all. You just want some kind of a string bridge there. There's a lot of ways of doing that. So I've got those glued on. Now I saw this on a video, one of Tim Piatek's videos. He demonstrated how you can just burn the fine hairs off of this type of string, and it makes it a lot nicer. But yeah, you just pass a flame over it and it cleans it up really good. So there we have it. That's basically done already. Just gotta file some notches into the end of the Cias, which I did. I'm not even showing that. Just a notch for the string to hook onto. And this is a regular piece of string. This isn't a good bowstring, just for a quick test. It seems okay. At this point, I'm not really able to tell much about it other than it seems to be bending evenly and it's not making any bad cracking noises or anything. And also it looks good. I like the way it looks. String rides on the string bridges. The bow turned out straight, which was one thing I was concerned about, that maybe I would have gotten the C as on sort of crooked, but nope, they turned out straight. Just be careful that you get those straight, because it will screw you up if you don't, I think. So at that point, you just want to do your final sanding, get everything aesthetically the way you want it, and clear coat it and stuff, and also make a good string. A continuous loop string. That's not what this video is about. You can find on YouTube how to make a continuous loop string. I recommend Backyard Bowyer's videos. He has a good one for that. So I've got, this string is not actually made for this is just a scrap string that I had, but I was able to twist it enough to where it was about the right length. As you can see, still straight, everything's lining up good. The brace height is kind of low, but it's okay. And shooting it, I can tell the draw weight is only like 20 or 25 pounds. To improve this, even on this bow without making another one, I could just chop the Cias down and make that shorter, and that would improve performance and draw weight. Like the arrow speed and the draw weight. I might do it, or I might just leave it and accept this one how it is and build another one. But what you're going to do if you want a higher draw weight is possibly use a broader piece of wood or a thicker amount of fiberglass, or reflex it in the handle and use shorter Cias.